friends, and as we kick off another Our Chicago Voices of the Community, glad you're with us. This is going to be a terrific 1 hour event. It's more of a conversation too. We'll ask each other questions, but I think you'll start to see that we just want to talk about some of the things today that are important to the Latino community. So I'm ABC7's Rob Elgis, pleased to host this week's town hall. This is a really fascinating topic, and I'm interested in all subjects. The topic is Latinos in tech, in STEM. And what does the landscape look like? How are Latinos represented? And what is being done? Who's doing the work to elevate the ever important next generation into these critical fields? Everyone you see on the Zoom call is participating in that, and trying to get the numbers up of Latinos in STEM. We're going to address some other questions here. We're going to talk to these leaders, representatives of groundbreaking efforts, some new that you'll learn about, creating the pathways to success for young Latinos, Latinas, Latinx. You're going to meet one of them here, but people focused on ensuring our youth have opportunities to move through with all the necessary skills from the classroom to the boardroom or into the C-suite within STEM and beyond. So I want to remind everyone of these are discussions. We'll go back and forth. We can ask each other questions. Sometimes I chime in, and I want to ask one of our experts or our leaders to elaborate on something. And so it becomes a conversation, and it moves really, really fast. So let's meet our guests. You probably recognize a lot of them. I haven't seen some of them in some time, so it's just great to reconnect. First, Omar Duque, there he is at the bottom of my screen. Omar, it's great to see you.
It's good to be here. Thanks for the invite.
Sure. Let me tell you a little bit about Omar. He's now the president of the Hispanic Technology Executive Council. High Tech is the act, right,
Correct.
Omar?
Perfect. Correct. High Tech.
It's the premier global executive leadership organization of senior business and technology executives who have built impactful careers in technology. Previously, Duque was the president and CEO of the Illinois Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. And leadership, IHCC developed initiatives to connect more Latinos to the innovation economy, with 71 Chicago's terrific organization to develop a first of its kind incubator program for Latinx tech startups. Since launching in late 2016, 95 Latinx founders have completed that program. Cohort companies have raised more than 8.8 million in early stage capital, created more than 200 new jobs. He's the co-founder of the Latinx Founders Collective, a national initiative to build a community more than 100 venture-funded Latinx startups by 2022. Lofty goals, but certainly some I think that can easily be accomplished as we discuss some of these issues here. So Omar, it's great to see you again. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Sure. Angie De Alba, there she is. Hi, Angie. How are you?
Hi, Rob. Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's terrific. We're terrific to have you. So Angie's the Senior Communications Manager at Primera Engineers. Primera Engineers, a full-service engineering design and consulting firm. Since that firm was first started in 1987, giving back's always been a symbol of who the firm is. Angie has over 15 years experience as a marketing and communications leader. She's passionate about all of these things, marketing the firm, its projects, its employees, equally as committed to promoting STEM. So STEM acronym, people watching this would know, but if you don't, it's science, technology, engineering, and math. Strong advocate for diversity in architecture, engineering, and construction. So she currently serves as the events and sponsorship chair for the Primera Foundation and is co-chair of Primera's Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee. Primera Foundation was founded in 2019, dedicated to promoting STEM education initiatives. Impact is focused in 4 key areas, all of them really important: scholarships, technology, education, and mentorship. And serving as the next chapter of Primera Engineers' nearly 35-year commitment of supporting careers in STEM, the Primera Foundation runs with the belief that students should be given the opportunity to impact our world through science, technology, engineering, and math. Angie, thank you for being here. I'll be curious to hear how much things have changed since that organization started in 1987. It's been a long time. Thanks for being here. Juan Salgado, I found out I was a Sox fan just now. He's happy today because it looks like the White Sox are going to the playoffs. It's great to see you again.
Great to be here, Rob.
So Juan Salgado has been Chancellor of City Colleges of Chicago since 2017. He's focused his career on improving education and economic opportunities for residents in low-income communities. As Chancellor, he oversees Chicago's community college system, serving nearly 70,000 students across 7 colleges. 75%, is it 75% of them who are Black and Latinx students? Under his leadership, City Colleges of Chicago seen an increase in student graduation rates to the highest level on record, unprecedented systems level partnership with Chicago Public Schools, the launch of Fresh Start, first ever debt forgiveness program, the completion of 2 new major state-of-the-art facilities, and re-energizing fundraising for student support, campus-specific plans focused on equity and student outcomes, among other efforts. Before joining City Colleges, he served as a CEO of Instituto del Progreso Latino from 2001 to 2017. That was a long run, Juan. That's the last time I saw you. So it's just great to have you here today. Get to my notes. Last guest, Andrea Minhas. Nice to see you, Andrea. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's great to have you as well. Andrea is a software engineer at Beyond Finance and co-director for the Latinos in Tech Chicago chapter. She's passionate, obviously, about technology, enjoys helping others navigate their careers in tech. So Latinos in Tech is a nonprofit organization with the aim to connect and empower Latino women working in tech. Andrea has been a leader of the Latinos in Tech Chicago chapter since the beginning in 2019, has helped organize many successful events such as pandemic parenting and recruiting for tech talent. Andrea, it's great to see you.
Great to see you too. Thanks, Rob.
Can I with you right away? You're software.
Sure.
You're a Latina. What do people say to you when they know what organization you're a part of? And because I think the conception or the misconception is women in engineering is rare, but Latinas in engineering is even rare. Do people have that same reaction when you tell them who you are and who you represent?
I mean, it really depends. I have to say though that I'm fortunate enough that I work at a company that really welcomes diversity. And so, you know, I don't feel like there's those sort of barriers and that people react to a Latina engineer, but certainly outside of my company, kind of day-to-day community, I don't think people put 2 and 2 together, you know, when I say that I'm a software engineer and that I'm a Latina, it doesn't really like comprehend in their heads.
Yeah.
And Rob, if I could just kind of jump in there, because I find it really interesting. I mean, that's exactly the perception that we're trying to change, right? And I think that as you think of the work of young Latinos going into technology, I think one of the challenges is they don't see, or there's this perception that they don't belong in this field. And I think nothing could be further from the truth. I think as Latinos, as Latinas, as Latinx, we belong here. We belong in this field. There is a place for us in technology as computer scientists, as people that work in artificial intelligence, machine learning, and all of the things that encompasses technology. And I think that that's part of the challenge we have to push back against that perception and those stereotypes.
It seems like time is changing that, but it's been a slow slog to get, and we're not there. And Chancellor, right. I have this information, some numbers here from your office, and I want to share this with the group. Latino workers are still highly underrepresented in the tech and digital workforce, making up only 8% of science, technology, engineering, and math STEM workers, despite being 18.5% of the US population, and that number's just going up, right? A 2020 report showed similar levels of interest in STEM courses and careers among Latino students and historically overrepresented groups, whites and Asians. And Latino students tend to complete fewer STEM courses and have lower GPAs and lower STEM confidence. On top of that, Latinas, together with Black women, are the lowest paid segment of the STEM workforce. Andrea, we can talk about that with you a little bit later. But Chancellor Salgado, I want you to speak to the why behind that dynamic. Why do you think that's happening? And then as we continue our discussion this afternoon, we can discuss how that percentage is going to change thanks to all the people here on the scene.
Yeah, I really appreciate you pointing that out, because while we do have a lot of work still to do to make sure that our young people are aspiring to careers in STEM and can see themselves to be Andrea or Angie in the future, right? Or Omar in the future. We have students already that are there that see themselves as the future computer scientists and technology professional and starting their own business, and yet they don't make it through. And a part of it has to do with the fact that, many of these programs are designed to weed out, okay? To weed out, to eliminate, okay? And in that process, our students that are adjusting to new realities, new circumstances, when they're first generation college students, they don't have all the supports that other students on the campus may have, or knowledge that they may have. And so, in that adjustment, it's easier for our students to get weeded out because the system is set up to do that. And then their experience, their new experience, makes it a little more complicated. One of the things I do want to say is that one of the things we're doing at City Colleges to address that, right, is to ensure that, we provide intensive supports to students that want to get into STEM, and that we connect them to the university of their choice at the beginning rather than at the end. And so we've built these great partnerships with UIUC and UIC and IIT, where you literally start at City Colleges with an intention of going on to those four-year universities. And you are guaranteed admissions to go to those universities. And you're in a supportive environment at our community college, where we say is we're going to weed in, weed out, okay? We're going to support you to success, right? Not push you to the brink, right? And I think that's a mindset shift. I think if we want the tech workforce for the future, we're going to have to change our minds about how we get that tech workforce.
And I think the perception amongst the perception, I think you can make some assumptions here. The perception amongst Chicago or the country, but I think the perception too among parents of these students, many who did not get a college degree, and you want to go into engineering, how are you going to do that? There's a perception, I think, among some of the older generation of Latinos who are hesitant to allow their kids to pursue that opportunity. Angie, I wanted you to talk a little bit about the partnerships. You guys help kind of alleviate some of these issues and the partnerships you have
Yes.
across the industry.
Yes, so I love the work that City Colleges is doing, and that hits the college level. Primera is an institution that tries to hit the students at the mid education, at the entry level elementary students. So we have a partnership with Madero Middle School in Little Village, and that's a partnership that we started over 25 years ago, where we formed a mentorship program. We have 7th and 8th graders who have come to our organization. They get a full day of learning about engineering and architecture, and just even being exposed to that is what's important. They don't have to know all the background about what it means to be an engineer, but just hearing the words, engineering, architecture, construction industry, and just getting to know those careers is very helpful. So we have seen through our past mentorship program, over 1,000 7th and 8th graders that have come through the doors of Primera Engineers for that program. That's just one of the instances that we have. We also partner with organizations at a high school level as well. So we like to build that pipeline from middle school to high school to college, and then internships, and then really build that pipeline for ourselves, because we're seeing that there is a lack of diversity in the industry. So we're starting them young is what's important.
Do you think are you seeing over time that, because that age is so influential, they have so many opportunities in front of them, and if leaders like all of you can tell them, you can do whatever you dream to do. Are you seeing that change amongst over the years, like maybe 7th and 8th graders now, because of these programs, realize that the opportunities are there, they just have to find them?
Oh, for sure. Definitely just STEM in general, and STEM education has definitely gotten a lot of attention in the last few years. luckily, you know, Primera was created by 3 Latino engineers. So it's always been a symbol of who we are, is just giving back to the community and making sure that our community and the Latino community gets to have these careers as well. As Omar said, we belong here as well. So yes, lately we are seeing a lot more of the students that we're mentoring that already have some awareness of what it means, like just even knowing the term STEM. Before, nobody even heard of what that is, but now we're definitely seeing students that are more interested and more engaged and want to know more about what it means to be in engineering, architecture, and construction.
And I don't think that acronym existed. Yeah, Omar, I wanted to ask you this. Sorry, go ahead, because I had a question for you. Go ahead, you want to respond to that?
No, because I think this is a really important topic, intervening early, because sadly, you know, we're losing students at an early age. In middle school, 66% of girls say that they're interested in science and math related classes. By the time they turn 13 and graduate from elementary school, that drops down to 32%. By the time they go to college, that drops down to 4%. And so if we're waiting to intervene in high school and college, it's too late. And so I applaud the work of the Primera Foundation and Primera in getting involved with students early on. These students need to be exposed to careers in technology, to STEM-related careers. They need to know that there's a path for them from an educational standpoint. They need to know that they're going to be supported, and like Juan was saying, that they're, you know, going to be weeded into success. And also they need to know that there's that there are opportunities for them when they graduate, and they and their families need to understand that this is an opportunity to elevate from an economic standpoint, not just their families, but our entire community. And so kudos to the work of Primera. We need to intervene much earlier than we traditionally have.
I just want to.
Sorry, I wanted to add on to that as well, because, you know, and I think we've kind of touched on it a couple times. I think that the education of families and parents is so important to continue to get children at a young age, you know, into STEM careers. You know, I've seen it. I'm sorry, say that again.
How did you do it?
I didn't have a linear path. I didn't know that these careers existed when I was in 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, or even high school, or even college. I didn't know what was out there for me when I left college. I thought that I wanted to be a marketer, and I loved marketing. And, you know, you see a lot of advertising on TV or on social media. And I thought that I really wanted to be a marketer. But, you know, fortunately for me, as I got into marketing and started to get exposed to technology, then that's when I realized that, you know, my passion was really software engineering, and that's the route that I really wanted to take. But I think that educating parents, not just students, is really important to be able to bring more younger students into this field.
Juan, you wanted Chancellor, so I wanted to add to that.
Well, you know, I just recently was with a nationally recognized scientist and engineer, and he gave me advice about my son, who's a 5th grader. I said, you know, what advice do you give to a young 5th grader that's wanting to get into STEM? And his answer is, make sure he doesn't get discouraged, to Omar's point. Make sure, because it's at that age when the discouragement is occurring in many different ways and in many different settings from many different places. And the second thing he says, make sure he sees people. I'm not an engineer. I didn't get into STEM. Make sure he sees people like him that have had success. So to Angie and Andrea, you know, you guys out there doing this work of being present to our young people and families, I think that's the most important thing, because that makes it tangible and real.
Yeah.
And just, there's so many resources available. You know, if parents don't know where to go, don't know how to do it, there's so many resources and organizations that make it their mission. We partner with the Chicago Engineers Foundation, which is one of those organizations, to offer scholarships for those students. So, you know, perhaps students don't have the financial means to get to an engineering career. Well, the Chicago Engineers Foundation and the Primera Foundation partner to offer scholarships. So there are always organizations and scholarships and opportunities out there. So to parents, definitely, look into.
It's hard to find though, Angie, right? I mean, it's not readily available. And some of the things we were discussing about how people, you can't do that. The kids are not, they're influenced in a negative way, or that turns them off immediately, and then they don't even know where to look. It's hard to find that. I guess would the advice be to ask the teacher at school, or what advice would that be for the kid to talk to parents?
Yes, definitely reach out to, I'm actually a statistic from Marcet Dina's drought. I had the opposite story of Andrea. I started as an engineer and then found that it just wasn't for me, and I switched over to marketing. It's just ironic that I ended up at an engineering firm. But definitely when I was in school and I was finding the engineering classes to be very difficult, I needed to ask for help. I needed to ask TAs. I needed to reach out and look for the help on my own. And yes, Rob, you're correct. It's very difficult to find sometimes, but you just have to speak up. Don't get discouraged. There are always people willing to help.
Yeah, Omar, we touched on this briefly, but the initiative is broader than just ensuring racial and ethnic equity. This is about remaining competitive as a world leader. Here's some of our leaders talk about this. China's ahead of us. Some of the countries in Europe are ahead of us. We're falling behind. Statistically, we are. We're falling behind in technology. But how do you get Gen Z Hispanics or even younger to be a major part of that solution? Because the jobs are there, and they're only, I mean, these fields seem to me to be the ones that are expanding, not contracting.
So I think that's a really great question, and there's so much there to unpack. I mean, varying estimates will put the number of unfilled tech jobs in the United States at about 1 million today. Like, depending on the report, 900,000, 1.1, so at about 1 million. And consider the notion that the average tech job in the United States, average, pays about $146,000 a year. This is an opportunity for our community to step in and lift themselves up economically. Not to mention what this means for the United States as a global competitor, right? Like, we can talk all we want right here about how this is the right thing to do for the Latino community, and we need to support our community. But I think if we're looking at this from a competitive standpoint as a country, if Latinos do not improve those numbers, right? 8% of the STEM workforce. If we don't begin to push that needle, I genuinely believe that as a country, we're going to lose our competitive edge that we've held for more than a century now. Because if you look at what other countries are doing, China, India, other places in Europe and across the globe, we're falling behind. And it's an opportunity, I think, to help invest in the Latino community, invest in all the things that we were talking about, so that we can empower the Latino community and remain competitive as a global economy.
Chester Salgado, you have so many capable, brilliant students that come through the colleges. How are you taking those students and helping give them the opportunity to get the 1 million jobs that Omar's talking about that are out there? So they're students and they're studying engineering there, and then it's time to go on and pick that profession. It's got to be hard to navigate for them, realize I can do this and I'm going to do it. How do you help?
I think it starts with a clear pathway. The student has an interest in the field. We have to guide them towards a clear pathway that says, this is what you need to do to get in there. And to make sure that whatever we're doing is stackable, because a may take advantage of a short course, a certification course, and go on and get a job in the industry, come back and continue on for their associate's degree, and then go back into the industry and continue on. That is the more normal pathway today, right? And one that we need to be supportive of as an institution. And then it goes to excellence, just driving excellence. Our Wright College engineering pathway was just named one of the 2021 most inspiring programs in STEM. okay? Because we've really built it out, and 80% of those students are Latinx or Black, 25% are women. And so we have to be intentional about going out and reaching out to our community that we know is capable. One of the things we learned is that we had students taking the math classes necessary to become engineers and become computer sciences, but nobody had ever talked to them about the fact that they could do that. They were already academically prepared to do that. And so, and then, you know, take a flip side. I just want to share this one story, you know, of how remarkable the level of talent we have in the community is. We're able to get company partnerships, you know, like with Accenture and Aon and other companies, to come in and take our students before they even finish an associate's degree to actually work in those workplaces. And so if we're working with universities, if we're working with the employers, creating those kinds of experiences, but most importantly, as I said earlier, supporting the students so that they can get to success, then we can actually build this pipeline. And that's what we're doing right now. And we're going to grow it. We have to grow it.
Yeah. Andrea, you're part, it's a 3-year-old chapter. Latinos in Tech it's a young organization, right? I mean, it has not been around a long time. What are you seeing from, can you tell me a little bit about your membership, how many and who they are, and what are you hearing and seeing from them? Because they're the ones we're talking about here.
Well, Latinos in Tech started in Silicon Valley, and then we decided that we wanted to open up a chapter here in Chicago, and now there's actually chapters worldwide. There's chapters in London, and there's a chapter in Madrid, in Mexico and Canada as well. So it's really exciting that all these Latinas in tech are coming together, you know, to build this community, and really, you know, what we're seeing and the whole reason why we wanted to start the chapter here in Chicago is a need for community. We want to be able to connect with other women, with other Latina women that look like us, that can relate to us, and that can support us with networking and developing professional skills, and even technical skills. You know, as we all know, sometimes it's not what you know, it's who you know. So definitely networking is a big part of what we do at Latinos in Tech.
And Angie, you talked a little bit about 7th and 8th graders, a great opportunity to help them move along. What about once they get to high school, Latinos and Latinas in tech? Because you can really start to focus if this is what you think you want to do. I mean, but STEM is broad. I mean, there's a lot of classes you can take, but once they get to high school, what sort of guidance do they receive? And as they get close to college, because it goes by quick, you know, how do they continue to grow and pursue what they hope is a very successful career?
There's several programs out there and organizations too that mentor the high school level. For example, the ACE Mentor Program of Chicago definitely targets that high school students aspiring to be engineers. So they take sophomores and juniors, and they follow them through their program and do hands-on activities. Primera is very close to this organization. We've partnered with them for the last 20 years or so for ACE Mentors, where they actually have a project from the beginning. They learn everything about the background, the design, the construction, and then the students actually present. So we partner with the Chicago Public Schools to do that. So there are organizations out there. We also partner with the College of DuPage, who also, you know, takes students from that high school down to the early career college level and mentors them as well. And then, you know, Primera is very close to the internship program. So we partner, Juan, I was just listening to you and saying, we need to partner with city colleges to get some of those interns in our door. You know, Primera in general is at a point where we're looking at our hiring practices, and we're looking at, you know, 12% of our applicants right now are Latinx background. How do we get that up? You know, we need to definitely, the average is about 30. We need to get that up. So we're definitely taking a look at our diverse recruiting strategies. Who are we partnering with to get those Latinos into the door? So those are some of the things we've been working on.
And Rob, as it relates to high school, I just want to make sure you're aware that we also are providing college level courses at the high school level for those students that are already college ready. We've been doing that for years. It's called early college. What we're doing differently now is we're doing that on a pathway to STEM careers. So that if you're a student, you're not just taking a college level course, you're taking a college level course that's on your first step towards getting into IT or computer science or engineering or healthcare. And so this is something new. We started with Chicago Public Schools just 3 years ago, and it's really taking off.
Yeah, what are you seeing now? Are you 3 years? So some of them are now placed in positions or getting close to being college graduates?
No, because these are high school students. They're juniors and seniors in high school that are taking college credits. So for many of them right now, they're freshmen in college, right? But they're a freshman in college they have completed 15 credits of college credit before they even graduated from high school. In fact, last year and the year before, we had about 18 students that completed an associate's degree while they got their high school diploma, right? And so that's a pretty remarkable achievement, but it's happening right now.
It'll be great to see in 5 years or so to see where some of those kids are placed in professional jobs. So Omar, you're the co-founder of the Latinx Founders Collective. This initiative nationally wants to build a community of more than 100 venture-funded Latinx startups by next year. It's a lofty goal, but clearly seems attainable. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so that really came out when the Illinois Hispanic Chamber of Commerce partnered with 1871 to start the Latinx Tech Incubator in 2016, 2017. What we started to see was that, we have almost like this hidden generation of really brilliant, really innovative, young Latinx tech entrepreneurs that in many ways are just trying to figure out how to grow their business. We don't, in our community, unfortunately, we don't have a culture, we don't have those relationships, that network to be able to go out and raise, $1 million in early stage venture capital. And so, when we built this, we started to see these amazing, innovative companies that were being built right here in Chicago. And as we were working to help them grow, we said, gosh, this is what's happening here in Chicago. What can we do to build this national network of other young Latinx tech entrepreneurs? And so we started bringing these entrepreneurs together in New York, in Philadelphia, in Miami, Los Angeles, San Francisco, to build a national network so that when if I was an entrepreneur and I was going out to Silicon Valley to raise money or to try to identify clients, I had a network of other Latinx entrepreneurs that I can call on. It's interesting that you raised this. We, for the very first time since COVID, we're actually doing a Latinx Founders Collective gathering tonight in Chicago, where we're expecting about 35 of these founders, many of which are already venture-backed, who are building and growing their companies.
They're here right now.
Tonight, yeah.
And that's something the pandemic has probably not allowed you to do any of that. And we talked about networking earlier, and it's just been, everyone's been kind of hamstrung on that.
Yeah, no.
Andrea, we talk about the general Latinos in tech, but women are underrepresented, even more so than men. Do you see the people in your membership, the ladies in your membership, are they experiencing that when they go into this? I mean, let's be honest, it's still a man's world in a lot of these corporations and a lot of this technology. And we're trying to change that. You're trying to change that. Do you see that? Does the membership see the underrepresentation in women? Number one, clearly they must, because the statistics show that. But what are they hearing? What challenges are they facing simply for being a Latina, which is unfortunate, but it's happening?
I mean, I would say that some of the challenges, especially when it comes to a more technical role, like for example, a software engineering role, is, even how to do a technical interview. A technical interview is very different from, a regular interview for a different type of position. So those are some of the challenges that we see. But another challenge that we see, and especially as we're trying to get more representation of, Latinas in tech careers, is that a lot of Latinas think that you just have to be an engineer, that's what it means to be in a tech career, is that you're an engineer. They don't realize that there's many different paths when it comes to working in a tech company. You may be a marketer, you may be a product manager. So, it really just depends, but it's helping our community get that information out there.
Angie's an example of that, having just shared her
Exactly.
career path. I mean, you're literally a great example of the path to success through various means in engineering and public relations. That experience must be something you share. And I can ask you the same question that I asked Andrea. Are you seeing the underrepresentation in Latinas, and what are you doing about it?
We're definitely seeing it, but as an organization, we're looking for different ways to improve that, to increase that gender equality. One of the things that we do is we like to partner with organizations that focus to increase those diverse numbers. So Girls for Science is one organization that we support, but definitely, just helping them at that level, the younger level. And like we've been talking about, just introducing that at the youngest level and having them hear that, and then following them through the journey, making sure that these students are sticking with it. Because, I, for one, I fell off, but in the end it worked out. But definitely there are other students out there who don't have the resources, don't know where to go, and they may not have that help. So definitely organizations and firms like us that are looking to support students through their careers.
Angie, I have a
say-
student for you, Angie. I just got to get this in, okay?
We've got the internships, Juan.
She's the vice president of the Society of Women Engineers on her campus. She just beat out 500 other students from across 24 schools and 12 states in a competition that Think Chicago did, okay? She's dually enrolled at Wright College and the Illinois Institute of Technology. By the way, Andrea was talking about nonlinear careers. She got her GED with us because she had dropped out of school 10 years ago, came back and got her GED, figured out that she had capabilities way beyond what she was able to exercise in her earlier years. Because she was a homeless student for some time, but now, she's got herself in a stable place and has got so much to offer. And so come see me. I got her, but lots more like her. Okay.
We've got positions here, so refer to me.
Hey, Rob.
Yeah.
Rob, can I just quickly double click and go back on something that Andrea said, because I think it's really important. This notion that, you don't have to be a computer scientist to be in a tech role. I think I believe, and our organization believes, that in the not too distant future, every job will be a tech job and every company will be a tech company. And if you don't believe it, look at how much has changed in our daily interactions over the last 18 months, right? We're able to host this town hall remotely. I'm at my house. I think Juan's in his office, maybe. When we go to restaurants now, we all figured it out. We know how to order, by scanning that QR code, and that's only going. The digitization is only going to continue to accelerate more and more. Change will never be as slow as it is today, because it's just going to keep getting faster. And what does that mean for all types of jobs, right? There's a pizza bot that can make 350 pizzas in an hour. Guess what's going to happen to those jobs, right? There is, I saw a friend of mine was in a restaurant in Dallas where his food was, not only did he order it on his phone, but his food was being delivered by a robot, right? But the thing is, who's telling those robots what to do, right? And that's where the opportunity is. And I think it's absolutely fascinating. Change has happened, right? And it will either happen to us, with us, or by us. And I believe that as a community, it should be by us. We have the power to do that.
And just to add on.
Oh yeah, go ahead, Andrea. Yeah, please.
Just to add on to what Omar said, I think as change is happening, and especially with the Latina and Latino community, I think what's really important is not only at the younger age, but as you continue to go through your career, mentors are super important, and educating not only parents, but the students and, people as they continue throughout their career about mentorship. It is really helpful at any stage of your career, whether you're entry level or whether you're still a student. So I think organizations like all of our organizations, are really important for all of this.
Did you have one? Did you have a mentor, Andrea, or an organization that really helped push you to the top and convinced you? You probably didn't need convincing, you were driven, but to say, I can do this and I'm gonna do it. Because you're right, you have to have that, especially as a young student.
I mean, at the risk of sounding cheesy, I think my mom, I know it's going to sound cheesy, but I think my mom has really been my biggest mentor. She was a first generation college student, and she went through all the challenges that we described that Latino students, usually go through. And if it weren't for her, I don't think that I would have stuck it out and made it here.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's not cheesy at all. That's reality. Fantastic. Angie, I think there are a lot of young, promising students who don't have that, who don't have a parent or something. Some of them are first generation college students or professionals, and they're looking for that mentor. Are you seeing that? And how? What advice would you have for some of those, even those kids who are in college who also need that support to get them over the edge and get them the jobs that Omar talks about that are available out there?
I would definitely advise to be active in your communities, be active in your school organization. There are clubs, there are organizations, there's volunteering. You never know who you're going to meet. Somebody may have a friend, a relative who knows of an opportunity out there. So just be active, be out in your community and help others. By helping others, karma, it'll come back to you, and in turn, you'll be successful.
I want to stay on this mentor or this role model thing for a minute or two more here. And Chancellor asked me this about parents. When I went to college, I wanted to be a forest ranger. I had no clue what I wanted to do. I really didn't. And then I started to take writing classes, and then I took a journalism class, and just like, oh my gosh, I can interview people and write stories, and I was sold. And I think my mom thought I was crazy. Going to the University of Illinois with no writing, but you know what? She always supported me. She always, her and my brother, we grew up, there were the three of us, and I always had that support from my family. And I think that helped me achieve my success. And it was important, like you, Andrea. But I think, Chancellor Salgado, there are a lot of parents who are hesitant to let their kids pursue these things. They're worried about moving away to another school. And I think more importantly, paying for it. How am I going to let my first generation son go on and become successful? They've got to really trust the system and trust their child, and that's hard. What are you guys doing to help alleviate that concern? Because it's real.
Yeah. Well, look, we believe that community college is a good solution for families. It's a great and smart choice that are facing that reality. I mean, the parents are concerned because they want to see the student to the finish line, and the price tag has gotten quite high for higher education. And sometimes when you have multiple children, it's hard to support them all. I went to community college, 5 brothers and sisters. My parents had a choice to make, either education for one or two of us or education for all of us. They chose all of us, and we all went to community college. And I'll tell you this, what we've done, we have several scholarships. We have a STAR scholarship. You get a B average, community college is completely free to hear at City Colleges of Chicago. The other thing that we've done is to, make sure that if you want to get a short-term career, we just announced this, we have 60 programs, including IT programs, that are as short as 2 weeks and as long as a semester, completely free to any Chicagoan. What we're saying to our community is, look, you focus on the studies. This is what my parents said to me. They didn't have any money. They said, you focus on the studies, the relationships that Angie's talking about. Don't worry about the money. I thought what they meant is that they had money, okay? But when I got to college, I realized they didn't, okay? But they were right in their advice. And that's what we have to do. President Biden right now is in an effort to make community college free for all students, okay? 2 years, free for all students, including undocumented students. We passed that, Rob. We've now got a formula for ensuring that our young people can take one thing off, because I will say one thing, sometimes it's less about the parents, it's about the entire family dynamic. The challenge that our students face is they do have to make money sometimes to help the family economy. They do have to support the other kids that are in the household. They do have to be adults contributing to the family environment in so many ways. And that really puts a pressure on them that is in addition to the studies, a pressure that many other students don't necessarily have. And I think that's the bigger issue that our students often face.
It's an incredible challenge for them. The financial burden, I was in debt for like a decade or more. It's just trying to pay for this. Something has to change when it comes to higher education, and that would be a big one. If I was a college student or pursuing, Omar would be the guy I'd want to know, because he knows people. I mean, you have been part of organizations who are talking about all these things, but you know, what would you say to some of those young students, not the 7th and 8th graders, but the ones who are ready to move from high school into college, or ready to take that leap into a profession that we see statistically is not offered to a lot of Latinos and Latinas?
I would say that there is a community of Hispanic professionals, Hispanic successful professionals, who, even though they can't see them, who are invested in their success. There are numerous organizations and numerous entities like the Primera Foundation, like the amazing work that Juan is doing at the city colleges. There are organizations that are ready to step up and support with financial support. So our organization, we have a foundation. We provide $5,000 scholarships to Hispanic students that are looking that are studying technology roles. Not only that, we provide mentorship and internship opportunities. Juan, we had an internship fair last week, and we had a number of students from the city colleges who participated in that. And actually, I'd love to chat with you offline. We just launched last week a partnership with the San Jose City Colleges because we do a lot of work out in Silicon Valley, but a program that takes students that are studying technology and matching them with mentors and with internship and employment opportunities. We'd love to be able to replicate that program here in Chicago. But I remember this, right? Because I was the first person in Miami to go to college, and it's lonely and it's hard. But to the point that had been made before, you got to seek out that help, because there are people, that are organizations that are genuinely invested and interested in your success. And we want to see these students succeed, and the help is there. They just gotta look and ask and know where to find it.
I would be remiss if I didn't give a shout out to the Hispanic Alliance for Career Enhancement, another organization in the Chicagoland area who actually helped me. I got 2 jobs along my career path through that organization. So definitely there are organizations, scholarships, and any resources available out there to help.
I appreciate all you sharing personal anecdotes. I really think it allows people to relate that we've achieved success, but by doing so, we need help along the way. Whether it be financial help, whether it be help at home, whether it be help at school with a mentor or a role model. Angie, what do parents say to you as they watch their child blossom into this successful, career-oriented student? I've got to think there are probably some parents who maybe at first were just worried. Right? We all worry about our kids. I'm constantly worrying about my daughter in college, and I'm constantly worrying about my son who's about to get his license. Like, we worry. Angie, do you hear parents over time start to see what we're discussing, which is the future's bright, we just got to get there?
Oh yes, and pride. All the parents speak with pride about their students and their kids and how their successful route getting to successful careers. So definitely, they're thankful for organizations such as the Primera Foundation, the Chicago Engineers Foundation, and really they are just thankful that we're helping and really trying to handhold the next generation.
Do some of them have hesitancy to get that help, you think, or to seek it out, or no? Do they see the value in using these resources?
Yeah, personally, I haven't seen much hesitancy. I think, I'm definitely seeing just thankful in their eyes that there's somebody out there and there are resources available out there to really help and have the knowledge and the background and the contacts to help their kids.
Yeah. Andrea, do you think that your mom's mentor now? I'm serious. She's so proud of you.
She would be. And she is very proud of me. Not she would be. She is very
Right.
proud of me.
Yeah.
And I think it's because of her also that I sought out organizations like Latinos in Tech. And as I continue my tech career, Latinos in Tech has been an invaluable, absolutely invaluable resource. With connecting me with other people in the tech community, because as I started to navigate my tech career in the tech community, I needed help from people that have already been there and done that. And we've also started a university initiative. We're starting to send out email newsletters to university students, telling them about scholarships and internships and apprenticeships that are available, because sometimes you just don't know.
Yeah, we're fewer than 10 minutes from finishing up here, so I'm going to give you guys a chance to offer some final thoughts. But one, and I wanted to ask the group this, and where do you think we are in 10 years? Where do you think Latinos and Latinas and Latinx students are? Are we going in the right direction? Juan, I guess I'll ask you, do you see the trajectory going up to get the percentage that I shared earlier? The digital Latino workers, this is what your office shared, 8% of science, technology, engineering, and math workers, despite being close to 20% of the population. We're going to go up in terms of population. Do you think we can get that number up as well? Where do you see it going here in the near future?
I think it's going to go absolutely in the right direction. I think that the leadership that you see here, the reason for that is because we're investing in relationships across institutions, okay? And so, we're increasingly in leadership roles. Think about here, this matters, okay? It really does matter. You now have a CEO of the Chicago Public Schools that is a Latino that grew up, okay, in Chicago, that I've known for 25 years. You've got me here, right, at City College of Share. You got Omer, Angie, you got Andrea. We are now in a position more and more every single day, not to exclude, but to include. And we have to include Latinos more than we have, okay, across a wide variety of opportunities if, as Omar said, we're going to achieve the objectives that we have as a nation. This is a national imperative, okay? We cannot, because the STEM careers cut across all industries, we are not going to be the country that we want to be for all of our citizens without the strength of Latinos. And I think that's becoming more well understood. And I think people like ourselves on this call, you included, Rob, all of us have a role to play to make sure that the broader society understands an investment in a Latino student and a Latino apprentice and a Latino intern and a Latino professional and a Latino business, okay, is an investment in all. And so I really think we're going to be a better place.
I'm optimistic in the future, 10 years from now, Latinos and Latinas percentage of being involved in STEM will be much bigger because it's an untapped resource in a lot of ways, Omar. Pedro Martinez, by the way, getting hired for CPS, that's a big one. He's a role model for a lot of, you can just tell, I think Juan in his presentation talking to the media, how much it means to him to be able to lead. That's going to matter, I think, to those young students. But Omar, there are a lot of, Andrea's an example of it. There are a lot of Latinos and Latinos ready to go now. They're there. I think that America just needs to realize that and give them the opportunity because it's an untapped resource. What you're saying, 1 million jobs out there available right now in the industry.
Yeah. So I'm also optimistic. I think that we're absolutely going to push that needle. I think that there are a lot of individuals and organizations that are working, that are collaborating to do this. I also think that corporate America has, especially larger companies, have sort of figured out that they need to do better, and they're working on how to do that. So if you look at what some large companies are doing through their employee resource groups and working to build more inclusive work environments, working to be more deliberate in how and where they recruit diverse talent. They recognize that they need to do better, and they need to sort of change the way that they've operated and change their cultures. And I genuinely believe that that they have the right intent. And I do believe that that's going to help push that needle, because it's not just about education. It's about giving them those opportunities and then helping them grow. Our organization is a community of senior level Latino executives in technology, right? At major companies like Microsoft, Apple, Google, Facebook, LinkedIn. These are the role models, and our organization aims to connect those role models to the next generation that's coming up. I believe we're gonna be in a good place.
Chicago could be the leader in this. I mean, there are so many of us here, and this city has always been so open to advancing underprivileged, underserved minorities and giving them opportunities. And the time is now. And if there's any city in this country who can do it, it's this one. We're almost done. We got like 4 minutes. Andrea, do you want to add anything? You, I think, could inspire a lot of young Latinos in your successes, and I can't wait to watch you go. Maybe, you know what, in 10 years, you're going to be here talking about your great success still on the part of the organization. And do you want to add anything or any advice for looking to further their career like you?
One piece of advice that I would give is, don't give up. Like we said, there's resources out there. You just got to be able to find them. So don't give up. For anybody that's interested in Latinos in tech, we do also help partner our members with larger organizations, such as Google and Apple, to be able to find those careers. So if anybody's interested in Latinos in tech, I encourage you to register at latinosintech.org so that you can get access to our newsletter.
Angie, any final words you want to offer before we wrap up the call?
I, for one, am just glad that the conversations are definitely becoming more prominent. And, if you're at an organization and want to see an increase in diversity, speak up. Don't stay quiet. Ask your organization, what is my firm doing to increase our diverse and racial equity and inclusion? And, that is a big push that everyone should be pushing for and asking about.
Juan, any final words from you?
No, seek out help. It's been said before, but those folks that look for networks and always are seeking help are going to get the help.
It's there. You just gotta ask for it and find. And I think it's there in a lot of ways. It wasn't when we were all trying to find our successes. You just gotta find it. Omar, I'll let you have the final word before we wrap up. Anything you'd like to add?
I'll just add to what Juan said and say, like, not just seek help, but also seek to give help as well. We always have to think about that next generation. And for as much as we're always looking for that role model, we have to recognize that we too are role models to those that are following in our footsteps. And we have to reach back and help them come up and help guide our next generation as well.
So well said. I want to thank each one of you, Andrea, Angie, Juan, Omar, for you to take some time today and share this with our viewers and share this and give some of the advice that you did. It's just terrific. To be a part of these always is humbling for me, and it motivates me. And you are all doing great things for the community. And so I want to thank you all for being here this afternoon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll see you all in the news at 4. Go White Sox, I think, Chancellor, because we've got some White Sox fans on this town hall. We won't talk about the Cubs.
Did they win yet?
Yeah, and have a great day. Best of luck to all of you. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye.